Hey guys, I'm going to give you a video here of me putting down some self-leveling floor compound over our hardwood floors. Our house is pretty old. The floors have sagged, and we've had some other structural issues that we repaired here recently on a home improvement project we've done. So, couple things I'll touch on. I'm using Tec floor leveler, and I'll show you a look at the finished floor before we get into the video. I kind of messed up in that I didn't put enough water in, so I'll show a video of mixing it up as well. I ended up, it was late at night, I was trying to do it while everybody's asleep, at least the first big pour. I wanted to do it while everybody's asleep so I could get it down. Also didn't trowel it much just because it was going to make a lot of noise troweling. And as I was trying to get set up on the video and thinking about that, I screwed up my math, which is really stupid because it's how do you divide 5? It's 2.5. Somehow I lost that half a quart of water in my mind, and I didn't put it into the mix. So I'm mixing this stuff a little too dry, and it causes a lot of problems. Number one, it makes it like spreading roofing tar, which even I've done some in the kitchen. I'll show you a quick shot of that as well. We mixed it correctly. That was about 2 months ago almost. And it still acts somewhat similarly. It's real tacky. It flows a lot better when it's mixed correctly, but if you leave like a screed or something laying on top of it, the screed will start to sink in it. It's not like concrete where to where it'll flash and set and you can walk on it. When this stuff starts to set, it turns to a sandy texture and you can't really work it much after that. That was the other thing with the low water. It was setting kind of fast, which made it difficult for me. And being a wood floor, I think that was hurting me, and that it was probably helping suck some of the moisture out, even though I put down primer. Primer is very important. If you'll notice, I lay the screed on the wood floor in places after I'm done, and it's dripping floor leveler onto the wood floor and making a mess. It's not a big problem because that area isn't primed. So I'll come back and just scrape that off. It won't adhere well when the primer is not down. When the primer is down, it adheres very well. And you'll see on a wood floor, the wood flexes and things, and it'll crack. And there's cracks in this already, but it won't come up. That leveler and that primer, once you prime it, it really holds it down. So we'll get into the video here in a second. I'm going to show you what the floor looks like. I did do some sanding to clean up some of the rough spots. I did this in 3 applications. You'll see the big application. I think I've got video of the second application to where the big one was the corner over to most of this. It was 2 bags. And then the second application was half a bag. It was sort of focused in this area right here. And then the third is a thinner coat. So I coat over coats. I'm also doing this without any help. I'm doing it by myself. It's really beneficial to have somebody helping you to at least do the mixing of the other bags and have it ready to keep coming in. I didn't have that luxury because, again, I was doing it late at night when I wouldn't have a bunch of kids running through here. Working on your own home when you're living in it can be more difficult than doing a project somewhere else where you can just make a mess and not have to worry about cleaning it up. You just keep working your way through. Every time I do something in here, I've got to go a couple steps backwards because I got to clean it up and make it livable until I get to the next step. So also, when you do multiple levels, like I said, it can be a little bit aggravating to move around as it starts setting up. So I did the big level, sort of a second level, and then the third level is really to come in and tie it all together, smooth it out so I can really come in, feather the edge off an already established edge, so you get real good. That doesn't look the smoothest in the world, but I sanded it. It actually looks a lot better than it is. So you don't have a bump, because if you leave the floor leveler, we kind of left some over here in the kitchen. It'll make like basically a rounded corner. It won't spread out good and level. I should have troweled. In hindsight, I should have troweled this a little better as it was finishing up. But basically, I'll hit that with a 36 grit hand sand right before I put down. We're doing this vinyl plank flooring, so it'll conform to a bunch of this stuff as well. So. And I ended up leveling, I think I've got over 1/2 inch of leveler in this back area over here. There's sort of the high spot right there where the table legs are, down to probably 1/2 inch 5/8 in places. It actually, not only did it slant downhill, it had some waves in it. So this takes all that out. We've done a lot of reinforcing, like I said, and jacking on the house. We've actually jacked this wall up probably 3/4 of an inch. Got everything. That room there, the baby's room, again, I was doing it late at night and she was asleep. I was trying to make as little noise as possible, but that floor is actually pretty level. This section of floor over here is pretty level. It does kind of dip down a little bit coming through here, and it maintains that, sort of flattens out in our new addition right there. So there's a lot going on. This gets it to where you really won't notice it. And if I was doing tile or something that really required a good flatness, I probably would have had to level the entire area. But we're not doing wood, we're doing the vinyl plank, let it conform. And even in the new addition, you might not notice it. I mean, this is all brand new construction back here. Even here, some joists will have a crown to them, some will be kind of flat, some will be even a little dipped. So even once they put down the subfloor, this subfloor wasn't perfectly flat, so nothing ever is. So if you need a real good flat surface for whatever your finished flooring is, this stuff is a good product. I like it. It's only my second time. Well, we've used it in there to level up some areas. Used it here, basically my second attempt. If you follow the directions, don't get in a hurry like I was, you'll be fine. You do have to kind of, even when it's mixed right, you do have to kind of drag it along a little bit. So that's one key. I'll show you. This table here is pretty well as level as I'm going to get it. So there's no different, the legs are set at the same height. There's no, it's a little bit off to one side, but it's not too bad. I can pick it up just a hair out here and get it perfectly level. But I'm going to call that a success. It's good and stuck down. And you can see it's already got some cracks forming through it, but there was one area I tried to, I actually didn't trowel it good enough. I did a sort of a light little patch here, touch up, and it got a little too thick. It ran over my high spot, and I had a real hard time chipping that back. I took divots out of the floor and ended up just sanding it with a powered belt sander to feather it back in, but it's a little high right here. But make sure you watch your edges and don't let it run out too far. I should have pulled some of that back when I was initially leveling, but I didn't. So those are the big things to watch. I'll quit talking, get into the video, and show you guys how it all came together. Okay, so I got a bucket. The far bucket is water. These two buckets are the mix, the EZ Level. And it's just kind of easier to handle in a smaller bucket. So the key is I sort of want to get the buckets even. Mostly I just do that by eye. Pretty close, this bucket's got a hair more in it still. Okay, so they're pretty even. The directions call for 5 1/4 quarts of water per gallon or per full bag. So I split that into two quarts. It's a 2-quart jug and an 1/8. So 2 and an 1/8. I just happen to have these laying around. Pour them in, start mixing. I use a paint mixer on an old 1/2-inch drill. It calls for like 2 minutes of mixing, so I'm gonna fast forward through some of that. Okay, and just the time that it took me to mix that other batch, this batch here has already started to harden up a bit. See out there, it's starting to dry out, a little rough. I can fix that. I did want to show you about how much gap we're filling here. Get back to it. Yeah.
We don't get cereal tonight for we need diapers too.
Alright. Okay, so just put down half a thing of level, or half a bucket. I will say that it, and I had a bad spot there I primed. I still had a low spot there in the middle, and then I had a bad spot over there that I primed and smoothed out. I will say to thin it probably a little more than what the directions, add a little bit more water. What I was trying to spread last night was real thick, about the consistency of probably asphalt tar. This stuff here, I had a little more water in it, it spread a good bit better. A lot more forgiving, didn't stick to the trowel as bad. And it's turn it out a lot smoother. You see right there, it's already actually starting to dry pretty quick, even with the extra water in it. This underlayment below it that's already dry is probably sucking a lot of moisture out pretty fast. I probably should have primed a bigger area. The key to this stuff being successful is primer, because it will crack. I mean, you can already see there's a crack right there just from last night, just from walking on the floor. This has been down 7 or 8 weeks, and it's cracked. In places pretty bad, but it won't come up. The key is the primer, and there's some cracks over in other areas too. The key is the primer. The primer helps it adhere. Like some of this stuff, you see me last night probably lay the board down. I laid it over here where there wasn't any primer, and I was just able to use the trowel and knock that stuff right off. It pops right off just like concrete would, but if you put the primer down, it'll stick and it won't pop off. So hopefully I put a wide enough strip of primer right there and over there that won't come up, but we'll see. If it's not, I've still got half a bag. I can mix up another batch and prime a wider area and fill in any inconsistencies. So I'll bring you back and show you what it looks like after it's all dry. I'm just going to show you about screwed up the wife's vacuum cleaner. This is a Rainbow. From a Rainbow vacuum cleaner, it uses this water tub as a initial filter, and it also has a HEPA filter on it. They work really great, and I like them. No bags, you just go dump the water. But this is the dust from that floor leveler. It has really adhered well. It doesn't have a lot of, it does chip and break up pretty easy, or it breaks up pretty easy. It does not come off the bottom of this tub very well though. I mean, I can rub and rub on that and it does not want to come off. It has adhered very well. So luckily I got to it when I did, I think. Otherwise it would have been even tougher by morning. Even sitting in some fully submerged in water, it definitely adhered very well. So I would say with a wood substrate, wetting it to slow the cure probably would not hurt you on the adhesion side at all. Maybe you'd want to do your own test just to confirm that with a little small test piece or something, but from what I see, it would not hurt the adhesion at all.